Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Academy podcast, the podcast dedicated to simplifying the commercial real estate industry for the masses. Each week, we sit down with industry experts to dissect the many facets of commercial real estate and extract valuable lessons you can apply to your business. Whether you're a new or seasoned business owner or investor, the Commercial Real Estate Academy podcast will be your go-to resource for all your commercial real estate needs. Now, here are your hosts, Raphael Collazo and Jeff Walston.
Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Academy podcast. I'm your host, Raphael Collazo, here with my co-host, Jeff Walston. How's it going, my friend?
Going great. Hello, everyone. I just got back from Ireland and now enjoying here in Louisville, Kentucky. We have the Derby Festival, so the Kentucky Derby, enjoying that, all the festivities. So what about you, Raphael? How's it going over there, my friend?
It's going well, man. Cannot complain at all. Similar to you, enjoying the festivities. My soon-to-be mother-in-law is visiting in town as well, so we've been kind of going around and checking out different areas around town, and we'll get to double dip on the good times because we're actually gonna go visit them in Puerto Rico in a couple of weeks to do a little bit of pre-wedding, take care of some pre-wedding items. So we're excited to be able to get back to Puerto Rico. It's been a couple of years since I've been back, and so it'll be nice to kind of get back there and see some family members as well. And, speaking of just a great time, we actually had a great conversation with Kevin Shtofman, who's the Chief Operating Officer of NavigatorCRE, which is a technology solution for the commercial real estate industry. Actually, interestingly enough, I didn't meet Kevin per se, but I saw their company at the Commercial Real Estate Technology Conference I attended back in October 2021. Happened to meet their CEO and several other people that are affiliated with the company as well. And at the time, I thought it was a unique solution, and just so happened that we were able to connect with Kevin today to be able to talk a little bit more about that solution in a recorded and podcast, really. So really, throughout the podcast, we learned a little bit about his backstory, what got him interested in the commercial real estate industry. He came from a management consulting background, an investment banking background, and then ultimately got into the tech space as employee number 10, as he said. And since then, they've seen some rapid growth. I think, during the podcast, he mentioned now they're at, 55 employees, and they're looking to bring on 20 more by the end of the year. So they are seeing some pretty exponential growth in their company, which is pretty exciting to see. One of the things we talked about too, as well, is one of the reasons why the commercial real estate industry was somewhat slow to adopt commercial real estate technology. So we elaborated a little bit about that throughout the podcast. He explained a little bit about what technology the Navigator CRE is and what offerings it provides to a broad range of professionals. So we dove into the commercial real estate professionals, how they can leverage the technology to be able to better serve their clients. Asset managers, how they can use the software in order to make better decisions, to be able to decide whether or not they want to purchase a portfolio or maybe step away from a portfolio, or really just make a variety of different decisions that are positively going to impact their organization in a timely manner. And then we talked a little bit about, his backstory, his future as far as the company is concerned, where they see themselves in the next 5 to 10 years. And then, he shared some good tidbits as far as books are concerned. One of the books that he mentions at the end, I'm actually going to put on my list because it seems like a very interesting read. So, we had a great conversation. I really enjoyed our discussion, and hopefully in the future we get to meet in person because I think he just is an impressive individual. So, Jeff, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, like you said, he is an impressive individual, and I can't wait to see the growth of this company that he's working for and helping grow. They have all kinds of offices right now. They started with their one, and now they got to 4, and they actually opened one in London not too long ago. So I'm excited to see this company's growth, and especially Kevin's drop in wake and growth in the company himself, especially in the industry, because tech, let's be honest, it's much needed in the commercial real estate sector, and I'm just grateful that there has this software out there to help everyone. So
definitely, no, for sure. And he even mentioned, the acceleration of adoption in technology since 2017, and he kind of elaborates in the podcast why that is. 2010 was kind of that watershed moment. So definitely listen throughout the podcast to be able to gain those insights. And before we get started, we always like thanking you guys so much for your support. Really means the world to us. We've seen a significant uptick in our downloads as a result of you guys leaving 5-star reviews. So if you guys don't mind taking a second right now, leaving us a 5-star review would be greatly appreciated. like I said, it has really made an impact on our downloads, and it makes sure that we can spread the message to a broader and broader audience. So now, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the episode. Well, hey, Kevin, great to see you this fine afternoon.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome.
Where are you tuning in from?
Today, Dallas. That's also home base, but I'm on the road a bunch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You were mentioning you were just in London last week. So I'm sure there's other fun events coming up to where you're going to have to travel, which is always, it's a blessing and a curse. I was in consulting for many years before I got into commercial real estate, and, it's part of the grind, as they say.
Likewise, the good news about being in commercial real estate is you're typically going to pretty decent places. It's not often logistics backhouses.
Absolutely. And yeah, we're going to dive into your background a little bit. So I'm sure you're going to provide some context to what that is as well. So, what we typically do when we interview someone is we like to learn a little bit more about their backstory. So if you don't mind sharing it, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I wish it was more exciting, but 18 years now counting in commercial real estate. Spent a couple of years of those at the beginning of my career as an investment banker at Morgan Stanley. Then I got an MBA and then spent 9 years as a management consultant. And my job at those firms, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, and a boutique, was evaluating different technology solutions that might make our clients, who were all large commercial real estate owners, operators, investors, managers, run more efficiently or at least be more profitable. And I learned a bunch. I failed a bunch, trying to get deals done, trying to deploy projects as well. And that career took me across 5 continents, a bunch of different countries, spent a lot of time on stage trying to evangelize about why technology and real estate are so important. Crowds as small as 5 people, as large as probably 3,000 people. And eventually I met the company that I am at today, NavigatorCRE. They were a 9-person technology startup when I met them, just trying to sell their amazing, now of course I'm a Kool-Aid drinker, amazing technology into who were my, at the time, clients at Deloitte. And I loved the tech so much that I left and became employee number 10 and COO, and that was 2.5 years ago.
That's amazing. No,
Nice.
and to provide some context to you as well, I actually saw you guys at the CRE Tech Conference in New York City. You guys had a stand out there, and so I met your guys' CEO and got to meet some of your staff as well. So it seems like you guys had a pretty strong presence there, and you guys travel around the country and really abroad, spreading the message of this particular software product. So we're really excited to kind of dive into your offering as well. So
Yeah,
Great.
Tech is definitely important in the real estate game, especially nowadays. I mean, if you don't have tech, I think you're so far behind.
When I started, my first gig was 2004. The Excel spreadsheet was the newish
King.
tech. It was like, you mean you're tracking everything in one place? And obviously tech has changed a bunch over time, but I do think a bunch of real estate companies, they weren't exactly in a hurry to deploy tech, because anybody who got through the financial crisis in 2008, if you had capital to deploy, you were probably going to do okay, because valuations had taken such a hit, interest rates were so low. And so technology wasn't really on the minds of all but the most forward-thinking executives. And obviously that has changed a bunch over the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, curiosity has me now is why not residential? I mean, I know that that's their own sector and everything. So why did you actually just choose the commercial lane? And can you elaborate on?
Yeah, so the background of our 2 founders was in commercial brokerage, industrial, and office. So they foresaw the need to solve this problem at that level. We also noticed the complexity of our solution, which basically integrates data and tools from a variety of sources. That is a more common problem against the largest companies, and the largest owners, operators, investors out there are typically in the commercial space. Most of the residential operators are either pretty fragmented or they've already introduced some tech. I think, Zillow, Redfin, et cetera. They're handling some of the biggest pain points on the residential side. That's not to say we don't participate in that market. We have some clients that are called single family residential aggregators, like those REOs, like Invitation Homes, that buy single family homes in bulk and then event to operate them more efficiently. We do have some clients in that space, but most of our clients are multifamily community owners, class office tower owners, industrial logistics people, retail shopping center type clients.
That's amazing. No, for sure. And like you mentioned, it compiles a variety of different data from different facets. And, in my case, my background was in technology. I was actually a software implementation consultant. So I did a lot of software engineering and stuff like that. And our solution was a government solution. So we would go into different government agencies and they would have all these different software systems that were just kind of independent of one another. And, you can imagine the chaos that existed when that happened. And we provided a solution that would integrate those systems. And a lot of times we'd bring whatever the functionality of those systems was in-house to be able to control the process a lot more efficiently. And so, I understand the logic there. And that kind of leads me to my next question is, why do you think that the commercial real estate industry has been so slow to adopt some technological advancement? You kind of alluded to that back in 2008, but I kind of wanted you to elaborate a little bit on what that is. So,
yeah, I think investor returns from kind of 2010 to 2017 were so strong. This was across almost every property type, across almost every geography. It was like you were throwing a dart at a property, and it was, unless you did something really wrong, you were going to deliver pretty decent returns for your investors. So they weren't asking many questions. It was, here's more money, please take it and continue to do the same thing. Then starting in 2017, two big things happened. One, cap rates started creeping up at the same time. Cap rates started creeping down at the same time as interest rates were starting to creep up. It wasn't you started noticing that. And the second thing was that ESG was a term that first reared its ugly head, and pension funds and other capital companies that were providing the money started asking questions about those things. And most of the operators said, oh, we don't really know how to answer these questions because the data is all over the place. So they began looking for solutions. There weren't many out there. So they began building them all in-house. And that was when technology first started working. And they said, well, if we're going to start answering all these questions, all right, how else can we make the business better so that if the next stage of questions get asked, we're ready for that? So that's access control, tenant experience, making the leasing process more efficient, making the transaction process more efficient. And so you started seeing technology in a bunch of different places. And when it first started, it was really expensive, right? It just getting servers, building hardware, integrating that hardware with different backend software. The word cloud was fairly commonly known, but still pretty new. Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and stuff, it was only the biggest companies used that. And then in the last 5 years, the cost has dropped by an order of magnitude. Something that cost you $1 million 5 years ago costs $100,000 today. That's how different it is. So a bunch of companies that said, we want tech, but it's too expensive, now say, okay, now it's table stakes. We need to have the tech just to keep up with our competitors.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And like you said, look at that. It's a 5-year period. Imagine where the next 5 years is going to take you in advancement. And those individuals who made the decisions in 2017 or even before then to adopt this new technology are now going to be benefiting from this. And the people who are not making the decision today, or even maybe even two or 3 years ago, they're going to suffer over the next 5 to 10 years because again, the technology moves at such a rapid pace. And, historically, the commercial real estate industry has been very lumbering and slow. And so I think that new leaders in particular in these organizations are starting to realize that in order to really move the needle going forward, they need to be able to adopt some form of technology. In this case, your offering is quite an astounding offering. And I'm kind of excited to dive into it a little bit more right now. So
we've had a very fortunate last 2 years. I really, really hope the momentum continues.
Definitely.
And that brings us to the next question. What is NavigatorCRE? Can you dive a little bit more into that and explain to everyone?
Sure. So the problem that Navigator solves really is accelerated decision-making at the executive level. Right? We are trying to help companies act faster because that is what is needed in today's environment. We all have our cell phones, we're glued to them. We're getting notifications and pings, and our brains are just moving faster. There seems to be a demand to make decisions quicker. And the most expensive time in any organization is executive time. And what often happens is most of these executives, they ask a question about their portfolio, about their leases, about their energy footprint, about their collections, about their landscaping, anything. All of a sudden, the team goes and scurries off and has to put together a series of information to answer that question. And so that cascade of meetings that has to happen to prepare for a meeting with the C-suite or to prepare for an analyst or investor call, that costs a lot of money, not only in terms of time, but in terms of bodies and in terms of missed opportunities. So what Navigator does is we bring together all of the information that would be required to execute that decision, right? Financial data, operational data, market data, demographic data. We bring all of that information into Navigator via some patented technology, some variety process. And then we visualize the information into a suite of different tools. We have a mapping interface, a cloud-based grid, an ad hoc reporting tool, a dashboarding tool, and an audit tool, so that these executives can get the answers self-service and the analysts can produce information a lot faster.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. And the power of that is pretty profound. I mean, it's similar to what you guys have offered in the past with this company I used to work for. We had a similar dashboard to be able to provide reporting to the C-suite executives, which in this case were, government, they were Secretary of the Treasuries, et cetera, within the different municipalities that we're in. And, the visualization of data in a readable format so you can make a decision quicker that's game changing for people. In particular, if you have to make these decisions that are going to impact, it could impact the company for millions and millions of dollars. So I definitely want to reiterate the value of that offering. So,
yeah, if the question is where should I buy next, and it's a single property, there's often not huge implications for that. But if it's finding a portfolio of multiple properties and being able to bid on that portfolio before your competitor hears about them, that's huge. Or getting diligence and quickly finding something that would blow up the deal and quickly walking away before you spend too much time in legal costs. So the larger the organization, I think the quicker they see the value, but we're trying to bring Navigator technology to smaller and smaller companies so that we can kind of democratize accelerated decision making.
Absolutely, definitely. So one of the questions I had pertaining to the target audience of this particular offering, do you guys work primarily with CRE, commercial real estate professionals, or are you primarily dealing with asset managers or Fortune 500 companies that have these they have to make decisions pertaining to a portfolio or some other offering that they're trying to acquire?
Yeah, we've worked with a little bit of everything. So obviously we have some of the largest names: Blackstone, Starwood Capital, Newmark, Brandywine REIT, Empire State. There's a bunch of the kind of larger publicly traded owners and operators and manage real estate. But we also work with brokers. Newmark is our largest brokerage client. We have a couple others, Stream Realty here in Dallas. So if you own, operate, invest in, manage, or advise on real estate, we're trying to bring those solutions to you. We also just started working with occupiers of real estate. So people that aren't even in the business, but have a large obligation to real estate, whether that's a aerospace company, a manufacturer, a pharmaceutical company, a grocer, right? Anyone who's occupying a bunch of space, they have different questions they want to ask about their portfolio. But at the end of the day, it's just data related to the built world. And that's across all property types, right? We're talking to people that own, manage, and operate hotels, own, manage, and operate apartment complexes, a series of single family homes, logistics warehouses, offices, and it's across the classes too. Obviously, the New York Class A towers are the ones that get all the attention and are flashy, but there's plenty of people who are trying to repurpose Class C office space along the side of a highway and say, how can we attract tenants in this age of post-COVID and everybody working from home? what amenities do we need to add to get them there? What promises for a blend and extend lease do we need to provide to get them excited?
Absolutely. And yeah, that's a great insight. And the reason why I asked that question is because we have a variety of different listeners. We have people who are commercial real estate professionals, brokers, bankers, anyone attributable in the transaction side of the actual industry. And then also we have asset managers and investors who listen to the podcast as well. So I thought we would kind of tailor a question that would be, targeted to each one of those individuals so we can better understand of how this particular software product does add value to those types of individuals. And so to start, we kind of wanted to focus on maybe the commercial real estate professional. As you mentioned, you guys already are working with some. Can you kind of talk about, some of the targeted areas within the software product that you think are really going to be of value to those individuals?
Yeah, when you're whether you're representing a tenant or a landlord, right? Your job ideally is to execute transactions, whether those are sales transactions at the investment level or leasing transactions on behalf of the owner of the building or the tenant who might be occupying a suite. And there's a bunch of information that is to have at your fingertips, right? Different comparables on what other leases or sales have been happening in a nearby building, understanding net absorption period over period to understand what areas of a city or an MSA might be trending in the right direction. You might want demographic data around the types of industries that are shrinking or growing in this economy. So who's going to be the most attractive tenant in a building to go get, or the most attractive tenant to represent. There's also government information and orders around COVID, right? Like we're coming out of most of it in most places. Here in Texas, we don't really understand the word COVID, haven't in a while, but there's definitely still areas of the country that aren't fully ready to open up yet. And so understanding lockdown schedules and mandates and requirements and how that relates to what buildings can be frequented more often, that might affect transaction volume and activity. You might also want to understand public transportation information, travel information, weather information. And then the last piece I mentioned earlier is ESG. So just carbon footprint of a building, requirements at the MSA level on, how that energy spend compares to market, if there's a LEED certification or an Energy Star rating. Connectivity is also a big one. So if you sign a lease in a building, are you going to get there and then realize like the internet is spotty? And so wired score is a big one when it comes to that. So there's just a bunch of different data points that you as a broker would benefit by having when you go try to win new representation and when you try to execute a deal. And that information we try to pull together into a specialized instance for all of our brokerage professionals.
That's awesome. Really
nice. I kind of got two questions though for you, Kevin. One would be, I'm always curious of how companies are doing, particularly 2022 in comparison to last year. Can you kind of like give us like a little piece? I mean, you don't have to run numbers or anything, but just kind of tell us, like, are you guys growing and looking to grow even further in the later part of the year, or what's going on?
So I joined as employee number 10 in late 2019, and we had our headquarters in Seattle. Fast forward to today, we've got 4 offices: our HQ in Seattle, an office in Dallas, an office in Hermosa Beach, just outside of LA, and we opened up our London office in September of last year, and are trying to kind of expand our, Europe, Middle East, and Africa presence. And we've got 55 employees today, so we've quintupled. And our plan over the next 12 months is probably to add another 20 people, maybe more. We're really focused on the people who deploy the solution, right? Data scientists and engineers, business intelligence, dashboard builders, project managers, account managers. That's been our main focus. And then trying to build subject matter expertise across each property type. So somebody who really knows Class A office, someone who really knows multifamily, because what separates us from our competitors is we were all real estate people before we became tech people, because this is really all about understanding your business. Your data is worthless if you don't get insights from it and get to use it, right? From a revenue perspective, we've we've grown a lot. We were very, very tiny when I started, and now we have millions of dollars in recurring revenue. So the hope is to keep that trend going. We're venture backed. We raised our Series A July of last year, and with that venture funding comes a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of expectations.
Yes. Couldn't agree more. We interviewed a variety of different tech CEOs in the commercial real estate space through this podcast as well, because we have different playlists that we offer to the public, and one being the technology space. And, we've talked to a couple companies that were venture backed, and they talked about the expectations of that particular, the money that is being allocated towards, growing that company. So definitely could understand or at least I can empathize with that. But again, you guys are meeting expectations, hopefully, and going to exceed them going forward. And so that's pretty awesome. And another kernel of insight that I'd like to extract from that is the fact that you guys were real estate professionals before you got into technology. Because I can't tell you how many times I've met people that are, technologists, and, they're brilliant individuals, but they don't understand the industry itself. And so it's very hard to tailor a solution to a problem when you don't really understand what problems exist within the space. And so, obviously, we had the honor of interviewing Michael Beckerman, who's the CEO of CRE Tech, on the podcast. And he always talked about how a lot of these startups that were tailored towards the commercial real estate industries were solutions looking for problems to solve versus the opposite way. And so you guys are obviously taking the approach of understanding the problem at hand and offering a solution because you yourself are your own ideal client, because you guys have been through those experiences yourself. So
we like to say that when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And we would instead like to be something that's a little more precise and focused. And it does help that not only did we all come from real estate, but we're talking to all of these companies every day. So without showing the platform, 95% of the features and functionality that exist in the platform didn't exist 3 years ago. It's all just driven by what our clients want to see, right? And because we are a cloud-based platform, every 2 weeks, updates spin out, there's no upgrades, right? Everyone has the most up-to-date version. And why that's so important is, Blackstone runs a great diversified business, has a bunch of great ideas, but they don't cover everything. Where there might be lacking in industrial, Prologis has great ideas. And in multifamily, Starwood's had some great ideas, along with Penrose, and in brokerage, Newmark and Stream and Colliers have all had great ideas. So we bring those into the platform, and all of a sudden, the way we visualize information, the way we link to other systems, the way we store documents, the way we produce dashboards, it's like it all gets better over time. And I think you're seeing that not just at a company like ours, but across every prop tech company. It's something like, I don't know, $60 billion has been invested in prop tech in the last 3 years. Doesn't matter, even if you're the GSA, right? Which I think is the largest occupier of real estate in the world, and you're the US government, you still aren't competing with an entire ecosystem that's innovating every single week.
Absolutely. Definitely. Couldn't agree more. So, well, Kevin, we greatly appreciate your time. I know you're busy and you've been traveling around the world, and I'm excited to see where this journey takes you all. What we usually do near the end of the podcast is we like to talk. We ask a few questions pertaining to, first being what was one of the most impactful books you've ever read. And it doesn't necessarily have to be commercial real estate related. A lot of our listeners are avid readers, so I know they're going to gain some value from what you have to share.
So I'm going to be a little biased here, being a first-time executive of a startup, but I'm obsessed with books that help you manage that growth process. And I just read Nail It and Scale It. It's a absolutely fantastic book. And alongside of that book, even though it's not 100% related, there's another podcast that's run by Reid Hoffman, who founded LinkedIn, and it's basically how to scale everything that you do. And I think this is relevant not just if you run a tech company, but if you are coming out of college and starting a commercial real estate career. Like, how do you scale yourself? How do you scale your knowledge, your skills, your personality, all of that together? I just think is super, super valuable.
Definitely. No, of course. No, I definitely can gain some value from that. I have not read that book personally, but I'm probably going to add it to my list now. And, I know Jeff and I are big into building out systems. We've been we're in a mastermind group together, and we're always holding each other accountable to try to systematize at least one or two processes within our business so that we can start delegating down the line. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And, I would imagine I'm really excited to read that book because I think there's probably going to be some kernels of insight that I can garner as well.
There is no shortage. And I'll say that's another thing where technology has helped is I don't have a ton of time all the time just to sit down and read a hard copy book, but like going on to Audible and just having audiobooks, and actually I accelerate the listening to like 1.25 speed. Because there's a bunch of studies that show you will retain everything at that speed, but it helps a bunch.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I do at 1.5 speed. So if you think about it,
oh,
you can
nice.
a 15-hour book, you can get it done in 10 hours. So that's kind of a good insight to glean from it. So
sorry, Kevin, background noise from my dog. He's warning me probably about the Amazon delivery guy or the yard person or a random person.
I just want to say we appreciate you coming on. Thanks for giving us all this value into the tech, especially explaining Navigator CRE. I know everyone will love it and be able to utilize it for sure. It sounds like a great dashboard and software for sure. One of the questions is we have a CRE treasure chest, which is a repository of things that our clients and people that came on, guests on the show, have given us a PDF or a case study in their certain sector of CRE. So our ask today is, what are you willing to contribute to that treasure chest?
I'm sure I could provide a bunch of case studies that would help us sell the software, but that's typically not our goal. We really want to prepare people and educate them on what they might need in order to achieve the same thing that our software is providing. So we have a white paper that says, here are the things you need to do to evaluate the completeness and cleanliness of your data today before you could use something like Navigator. We'll provide that white paper to you for free. And anybody that tunes in and references this podcast and reads the white paper will also provide with you a complimentary assessment of your underlying data today.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's an amazing offering. And if you guys are listening to that, I would definitely encourage you guys to take advantage of it. I know, like I said, like Kevin was saying, I mean, the solution itself is a phenomenal solution. And I'm sure you guys can gain some value from implementing within your business as well. So Kevin, we greatly appreciate your time. As we said before, if people wanted to get in contact with you, learn more about what you guys do, how can they do so?
So our company website is www.NavigatorCRE commercialrealestate.com. And I'm Kevin Shtofman on LinkedIn. Just ping me. I like responding to everybody. Just one of my things.
Definitely. No, for sure. And we'll go ahead and include that in the description below. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the description. If you guys are listening to it in podcast format, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., it's going to be in the description as well. So thanks again, all of you guys, for tuning in. We greatly appreciate all the support. We've seen a significant uptick in our downloads as a result of you guys leaving 5-star reviews. So to continue to do that, if you guys like this channel, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, ensures more and more people can hear this message. If you guys are watching this or listening to this in a podcast format like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. Like I said before, it's helped us significantly increase our downloads, and we greatly appreciate your guys' support. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.